So you found the skeleton. How would you tell if it represents you personally? How would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, welcome to Gish with Vish 13. It's Hanukkah time because it's Hanukkah right now. That's all I got. That's the entire reason I put a menorah in the thumbnail. It was because it was easy for me to come up with a thumbnail and a title, and I didn't have to be clever with it. So happy Hanukkah, everybody! Happy Hanukkah, there, Vishanti.
Hanukkah Sameach.
All right, which is also on the thumbnail.
Indeed it is.
But I did the thumbnail in Blender, and Blender is just like, oh, are you writing Hebrew? Well, we're gonna write it left to right. So I had to go in and copy each letter individually, and then paste them backwards.
Such a pain in the ass. By the way, speaking of Hanukkah, thank you to David Hercules for sending me an item off my wish list, which I am currently wearing right now. It is a Hanukkah sweater with, they're asking me to turn my camera on, and I think, like, I'll at least show the sweater, even though I don't want to be on camera today, because it's been a very long week.
Okay. Let me just make
Center
sure I get
myself.
There you go. They can see it. Very cool.
The little sequins light.
Ah, so you can do the appropriate amount of lighting of very nice.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
I love doofy little sweaters like this, so thank you to David Hercules for that sweater. And there you go, Vadim, since you were asking.
Kip Davis points out that there are Unicode Hebrew fonts and keyboards. Yes, I do know that. And I suppose if I were to type more Hebrew, I would probably end up getting a Unicode font for Hebrew. But the problem is I'm still going to have to type it backwards, right? Like, it's still going to have to type backwards in that particular program. Because unless I get some kind of, like, weird modify, like, I don't know, plugin or something, it's probably not going to change its left to right bias. It's a nightmare for Arabic. I have to just do Arabic by hand. I make my own custom models for Arabic whenever I've done Arabic text in Blender. It's a nightmare.
I use Lexi Logos to get the characters. Like, I spell it. You can type, and it's, like, mapped more or less to the Latin letter equivalent. And it's what I use to type in Hebrew without remapping my keyboard or whatever, so.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, because I just mentioned it, I'll just paste the link in the chat in case anybody else needs this wonderful resource.
All right, so I got a couple things. I also have to say a thank you to David Hercules, because David Hercules sent a Carolina Reaper sausage and a Star Trek. Yeah, it's very good, and a Star Trek Adventures rulebook for the Lower Decks campaign. It's the Lower Decks campaign book, and it's already been rather amusing. I'm quite enjoying it. And so the message said, I'm glad your channel avoided seeing the koala, darn YouTube, from David Hercules. And of course, if you're familiar with Star Trek Lower Decks, you will get that reference. If you're not, maybe go watch Lower Decks. I mean, it's got the best Star Trek actor of all time, which is, of course, as Vishanti will tell you.
It's Jeffrey Combs. No hesitation.
Exactly. Also, I want to say to Sandy, who was one of my youngest viewers out there, that I hope you feel better.
Aw.
Yeah, Sandy is not feeling too well today, and so I want to make sure that she knows that I am hoping that she feels better. So,
Kip Davis in the chat says, I have a Christmas sweater that's a reindeer with menorah antlers, and the words Merry Christmasa emblazoned above it. The menorah antlers light up. I love that!
Nice.
I have 2 or 3 different Hanukkah sweaters that light up and blink. It's very annoying and stupid, and I love it. So,
the Hollywood sign is proof of Nephilim. Nee says, that's a Carolina Reaper suppository? No, it's not.
Oof.
Although
everything's a suppository if you use it wrong enough.
Yeah, well, that's true. Except for suppositories, which are suppositories even if you use them right.
Yeah.
All right. Heather Rauchi also joined the channel at the tetrapod level, and that all happened way back at 25 after noon my time. Turkey Sloth for $10 puts in a Yiddish song for Hanukkah, which I'm not familiar with the tune, but I think it's roughly Ich bin a kleiner
Dreid.
Yep.
Dried. Yeah, I had a little dreidel.
Yeah. That was for $10.
I know enough rudimentary German to get through the equivalent.
Yeah, same.
So.
That was from Turkey Sloth, and it says, I couldn't remember if you said you're Ashkenazi or Sephardi, so I went with the only song I was aware of before a few days ago. I mean, okay, thank you very much. And then Fear...
I am Sephardi, but thank you for asking.
Yeah. And Fear, Middle East is a war-torn country monger, who's been a member for 13 months, is at the Tetrapod level, says, Hanapahuch Bohajjaj. Also, AIG is a bag of dicks. Take a drink, so we'll take a drink for that. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Now, of course, that is, in fact, very, very good Klingon for may you have a happy Hanukkah with a you plural. So, that is the plural for the second person.
That's there. The y'all form.
Mm-hmm. May y'all have a happy Hanukkah. So, thank you very much. I appreciate the use of Klingon. My guess is that not many Hanukkah celebrations involve significant amounts of Klingon. Which is too bad, because as we all know, it's fairly heavily implied that Worf is Jewish.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so...
I take that to be just not blatantly stated canon, to be honest with you.
I mean, look, the people who were playing his parents in Star Trek The Next Generation, pretty much all their roles outside of Star Trek, they were chosen because they look like stereotypical Eastern European Jews, and that's who they were playing. Mm-hmm. And they continue with all of the stereotypical behaviors in Star Trek The Next Generation. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going with Worf was adopted by a Jewish family on Earth, and while they also, raised him to appreciate the customs from his homeland, I'm sure they also introduced him to their customs and made him part of their community. So Worf is Jewish.
Yep. I agree.
All right.
The Holocaust follows Rav Kavdiel on this one.
That's me.
It's a triple deep cut. No one's going to get that.
No. Okay, so we're not primarily here to talk about Star Trek and the Jewishness of various Klingon characters in Star Trek.
But that's why people show up.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, that is probably part of it. We are here, however, to talk about Dwayne Gish. Now, he is giving this talk about the age and origin of the universe. However, for some reason in it, he is now going to be telling us about how Fred Hoyle and his associates decided that life was too unlikely, and we're going to listen to him talk about that. Fred Hoyle, as you may or may not know, is the guy who created the wonderful analogy about abiogenesis somehow being like a tornado ripping through a junkyard and assembling a jet plane ready to fly, fueled up. Also, Royland, for $2, first sends a Mothra and says, Happy Hanukkah. Thank you very much. Happy Hanukkah to you, too.
Jake Nelson says, Hanukkah always reminds me of when I saw Matisyahu on his festival lights tour in 2014. Yeah, I actually saw Matisyahu way back when I lived in Birmingham, and through a friend, I got to go to his Havdalah before the concert, which was pretty cool. So, because he played on a Saturday night.
The Hollywood sign is Proof of Nephilim niece asks if they circumcised both of Worf's
oh my God.
bits. I don't actually have any confirmation that that's one of the organs that Klingons have two of. So, I also don't have any confirmation that they have a foreskin. I don't know what all the rules are, right? I figure in the 24th century that the rabbis of the 24th century have figured out what to do with aliens who wish to convert. I'm going to just go with that and say they have it figured out, and it's not my business. I'm not Jewish, I'm not a rabbi, and I'm not living in the 24th century, so I don't have to worry about any of these things.
I can guarantee that future Jews would have not only decided what to do with aliens who, may wish to join the Jewish nation, and also how exactly to mark Shabbos on different planets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Like, do they have one sun? Do they have two? If you are saying the Amidah, do you turn towards Earth east, towards Jerusalem? Do you, turn towards your planet's east? Like,
what
how
if
does
it's
this
a
work?
tidally locked planet, and you're on that, little, Twilight
exactly.
Zone ring, and there's never a new day? You gotta come up with something.
Yes. Yep. exactly. They would be all over this.
Mm-hmm. Yep, but fortunately, it's not something I'm going to worry about because I'm not in any of those circumstances.
And I got time for that.
Yeah,
I ain't got time for that.
Look, if I ever write a sci-fi story with Jews in it, which comes up fairly often, actually. I mean, they're in Dune for one thing. Then maybe I'll try to
tell me about this.
What's up?
Did I know about this and
Jews
forget?
in Dune? You might have. I don't know. It's in one of the later books. Yeah, it turns out the Bene Gesserit have been in an alliance with, like, the secret Jews for millennia.
Oh, wait, no. You said Dune as in a sand dune, not Doom as in rip and tear Doom.
Well, I mean, Doom takes place in, like, the near future Earth, so, I mean, there's probably Jews.
Yeah.
Although, by the time you get to Doom Eternal, it's, like, 90-something% of the population of the human species is gone, so maybe not, I don't know.
Yeah, there's dead. Yeah.
Hell invasion, right? Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So we are doing the drinking game, as you guys can see. So we're going to go over those rules real quick. Because if there's one thing I know about holidays, including Jewish holidays, or if not especially Jewish holidays, so you should have some alcohol. Mm-hmm. In fact, I believe it's obligatory on at least one Jewish holiday to get extremely drunk.
Indeed.
So
Indeed,
it's not this holiday, though. This is not that holiday, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So, we will take a drink, as you guys have already seen. When anyone super chats or membership milestone chats, anything to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks, or has one of the kaiju emojis. Now, to get a kaiju emoji, you do have to be a member, but we have Mothra, we have Godzilla, and we have King Ghidorah. They're all there available for all the members. Vishanti, down. This is from a star you. Is it just as Jewish as it's Christian to be Doom guy? I mean, I don't think we actually get a religious identity for Doom guy in the games. But then again, he is apparently a descendant of B.J. Blazkowicz from the Wolfenstein franchise, and he's Jewish. So it's possible that Doom guy is Jewish.
At least he has Jewish ancestry.
Yeah, that's why I said it's possible that he's Jewish.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, if his family kept up, as members of the Jewish community, then, yeah,
you never know.
Yeah, and like Vishanti said, at the very least, Doom Guy seems to be pretty well confirmed to have some Jewish ancestry. DM banned for debunking misinformation wing, yeah, that's a thing. For $2 says, the Doom books were very Mormon. Well, okay, that does kind of make sense too, right? That talking about, like, hell and other planets and whatnot, yeah. It's kind of like, what was it, Battlestar Galactic was basically just Mormonism, the show.
Mm-hmm.
It was, like, created by Mormons and written by Mormons, and a whole lot of it focused on Mormon themes. And if you don't know enough about Mormonism, you're just like, oh, it's a weird space opera thing with, like, a robot dog that's actually a chimpanzee in a robot costume. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you look into,
man, there's
the background.
A long tradition of Mormons and sci-fi, so.
I mean, it's not like their religion is kind of sci-fi-ish anyway, so it makes sense.
I mean, yeah, to be fair. Hashtag Battlestar Galactica.
Exactly. Anyway, so we will also take a drink if anyone gifts memberships. That is another thing. As you might know, memberships do tend to expire, and I lost a bunch of them during the time I was unable to stream, because I missed 2 streams. So if you guys want, we are even more behind than we were on getting to another emoji, but hey, if you want another emoji, I've been informed that it might be an axolotl, or as you might say, an axolotl. Might be the next emoji. Or ajolote, if you want to go with, like, a Spanish pronunciation.
Ajolote.
There's a lot of options, is what I'm saying, for what you can call this animal, but, it's the pedomorphic salamander from Lake Mexico. There you go. Anyway.
They're just so dang cute.
They are extremely cute. We will also take a drink if Dwayne Gish says something that's just too stupid. If he says something that's actually factually correct and he's not just getting it from someone else, we'll take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink if Dwayne Gish tells a joke that doesn't land or tells a story that we're pretty sure it didn't happen. That is a bit of a judgment call. But if he tells a story about this one time that he, like, converted a museum docent to Christianity over the course of 20 minutes via a conversation about how the dating of fossils is circular, yeah, pretty sure that didn't happen. So we'll take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink if either Vishanti or I can predict what is going to be the next point from Dwayne Gish, where it's not very obvious. There has to be someone like, oh, where is he going with this? And if one of us can say, oh, I think he's going here, we'll take a drink for that. There's also Trojan source. Now, this has not come up once with Gish ever, because he basically doesn't cite sources. But if he does cite a source, and we check the source, and the source not only fails to support him, but it actively contradicts him, we take a drink for Trojan source. We also have ad hominem. This can only happen once per stream, but if at any point Dwayne Gish confuses our knowledge based on Lucy or our knowledge of any wider taxon to which she belongs, we take an ad hominem. So for instance, if he's like, well, how do we know if Lucy had feet with an inline big toe? We didn't find her feet. Of course, the answer is, well, because we have other Australopithecus feet and they have inline big toes. So there you go. That's ad hominem. Only once per stream, though, because once they start doing it, they tend to just keep doing it for the next 5 or 10 minutes. And I don't want to have to just constantly chug this Sam Adams winter lager. Jessica for $1.99 says, or Wolfenstein with a kissy party face. Oh no, it's a party face blowing a noisemaker. There it is. And a purple heart. Thank you very much. Wolfenstein is cool. I haven't played the new one. I played the original one way back in the 90s, before Doom. With like where the final boss is, the leader of Germany in a mech suit with twin autoguns that you're supposed to shoot down. It's not a very easy fight. But if you had to come up with a game boss that you don't feel ever bad about killing, it's a good option. Yeah. Because actually I'm someone who doesn't super like killing humans in video games. It always feels weird. But when it's that one, I'm like, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'll get over it for certain groups of humans. Which, by the way, that's another one of our drink triggers. If Dwayne Gish mentions the bad guys in Wolfenstein, we're taking a drink for it. Let's see. I think that is all of them. Did I miss any that you know of, Vishanti?
I don't think so. I think you got them all.
Well,
but the chat will let us know if we missed one.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Oh yes, just in time for Christmas, and a failed historian of science decides to respond to Kip Davis and Dapper Dinosaur. Yeah, I guess I'll mention that. So yes, Kip Davis and I did do an interview on Kip's channel while my channel was down about the historicity of Jesus, and yes, there was a response. I don't currently have any plans to even watch the response because it started with a straw man in the title of the response. And the initial comments just on the announcement of it included ridiculous nonsense like early Christianity was a mystery religion, which is not true. The only real similarity between early Christianity and mystery religions was like baptisms weren't completely public because they were gender segregated. And the Eucharistic aspects of the liturgy were not open to non-Christians. That's it. None of the theology was hidden. None of the teachings were hidden. Even the initiation rituals weren't actually secret. They were just not completely public because they were gender segregated. Because early Christian baptisms tended to be nude. So they were gender segregated. So, yeah. And it's like, if that little tiny bit qualifies early Christianity as a mystery religion, I guess everything's a mystery religion at this point. Because, find me a religion that doesn't have any history of ever excluding outsiders from any part of it. There's not that many of them. All right, but with that, I think it is time to listen to Dwayne Gish. Are you ready, Vishanti?
I suppose.
Could you be more ready?
No.
All right, then, you're ready.
Living things did not originate by evolution. Sir.
That's true, technically. We'll take a drink. They originated via non-evolutionary process called abiogenesis, which is not evolution, because evolution is about changes in allele frequencies in living populations over time. So, sure, there you go.
Fred Hoyle, the very famous British astronomer, he became interested in the problem of the origin of life a number of years ago.
That's true. I'll take another drink.
He and a colleague, and they assumed that the universe was 20 billion years old. They assumed that every star in this universe had a planet like the Earth.
I'm actually not sure about that, but I'm not going to call that dumb because I don't actually know. I haven't fully looked into everything that Fred Hoyle did with his panspermia. Because, okay, Fred Hoyle was a pro-panspermia guy, right? He thought that there was some kind of origin of life in space, and that it then was flying around basically on space debris, crashing into planets, and then planets with life on them would have other impacts, which would then send bits of microbial life off back into space, which could then seed other planets and whatnot. And the thing is, I mean, modern biology hasn't ruled out panspermia, but there's also no particular reason to accept it. It's just currently thought of as an unlikely but not impossible hypothesis as to how life got to Earth. Also, Jessica says the new games are very well done, highly recommended. All right. I mean, maybe I'll put them on my Steam wishlist. My gaming budget lately has been kind of small because, you know,
yeah,
I'm a YouTuber. We don't make that much money. Well, okay, most of us don't. Sure, you get people who, you know, have, you know, tens of millions of subscribers and are making, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars every week or something, but
yeah.
I was like, do I want to buy this video game for under $6 today? I don't know. Seems iffy. The answer, by the way, was yes. I did buy a new game today. Because it was 85% off, and it was under $6.
I mean, in, like, right now, Midnight Suns, which I've been obsessively playing, is on sale for like 60 or 70% off. So if you ever want to delve into that one, hey everybody, it's a super fun game, and I can't stop playing it because I have impulse control problems.
Problems. There you go. I was like, I feel like we're either missing a word or something. I don't know.
Listen, the OCD thing, it's the compulsive aspect of that I struggle with. You know, just saying.
All right. So we'll hit play on this after we toss. Yeah, I think we went over the Fred Hoyle thing enough. But yes, Fred Hoyle was a lifelong atheist.
They made certain assumptions about the minimum requirement to get life started. Then, using all this data.
By the way, they had no clue, and neither does really anyone else, what the minimum requirements to get life started are. So that's one of your big problems right there, is that we just don't know what the answer to that is.
I mean, if I make it up, I'm sure that, you know, I could debunk it. Wait, that's called a straw man. Never mind.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's one of the problems. It's like when people are like, well, the Drake equation says there should be so many alien species. It's like, no, it doesn't. Because you have to make up numbers in order to get it to say that. How'd you get those numbers?
Yeah.
Right, you made them up. The Drake equation is currently insolvent. Like, you can't solve it because we don't know what all the variables are. Sorry.
Yeah.
They calculated the time required for life to evolve on this anywhere in the universe. They could not believe their calculation. According to their calculation, the probability that life could have evolved anywhere in the entire universe in 20 billion years was essentially nil. Sir Fred said the probability of an evolutionary origin of life was equal to the probability that a tornado sweeping through a junkyard would assemble a Boeing 747.
Literally doing tornado in a junkyard.
Mm-hmm. That's because that's who made it up. Cross-platform gyroscope Mars Sovereign member for 10 months is at the annual level says Axolotl. I don't know how to do both the more authentic pronunciation and also add in an English. So I'll just say axolotls have many ways to breathe it, as well as many names, lungs, gills, and skin. With a Godzilla, and we'll take a drink for the Godzilla. Thank you very much.
Yeah, were ajolotes on the ark?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, they do have nostrils, right? They do have lungs, but then again, they're like aquatic, and AIG at least are all like, well, we didn't. Whales.
Well, if you lived in the water.
Yeah. As if things that live in the water can survive gigantic volcanic explosions and tsunamis and crazy salinity crises.
The Earth being plasma.
Yeah, plasma. Look, if you ever want to survive the plasmification of the entire planet, just go in the pool. You'll be fine. That's actually not true, by the way. That won't save you. Although at that point,
I mean, the oceans will boil, but you know.
Of course, at that point, it won't matter what you do, so I guess get in the pool if you want to.
Yeah. May as well.
Yeah.
Hot tub.
Yeah, do whatever seems most fun at that point, right? Because, if the Earth's turning to plasma, it doesn't matter.
Like a G.
Well, they said, of course, that's impossible. So they said life had to be created, therefore there must be a God.
Okay, we're going to take a drink because no, that is not what Fred Hoyle ever said. Fred Hoyle was a staunch atheist. The reason he didn't like the Big Bang is because he thought it sounded too much like divine creation.
It's funny because he called it like the Big Bang because he was trying to dunk on it, not because.
Goop23 for $2 says, I missed the comeback stream, but congrats. Yes, thank you very much. In case anyone doesn't know, real quick, yes, there was a false community guideline strike issued against my channel for a video from well over a year and a half ago, almost 2 years at this point, where basically I was saying perfectly conventional, normal, not medical advice things about medical science. And YouTube flagged it as medical misinformation, and then when I appealed, they upheld it, and it took them, I think, about 4 days or something to get their collective heads out of their asses and not just return the channel, but also completely remove the strike, so it doesn't exist anymore. And that video has been restored to the channel as well. But in the meantime, yeah, I did not have any ability to monetize the channel, upload, stream, even post community posts. So it was.
Thanks, YouTube.
Yeah, it was a bit rough. Although I will say that you guys stepped up big time when it came to I set up a GoFundMe to if anyone wanted to support, and it got over 200% funded. So thank you so much, everybody.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
everybody's great.
They really are.
And they were both atheists when they began these studies.
And when they ended them, Dwayne, and when they ended them. Yep. Fred Hoyle never became a theist. He never became a deist. He certainly didn't become a Christian.
So even if the universe is 20 billion years old, life could never have evolved.
Yeah, according to a guy who made it his life mission to disprove evolution, because while he was an atheist, he was a weird sort of atheist. Like, Fred Hoyle was no more in favor of evolution ultimately than Dwayne Gish was, just for different reasons, right? So it's like, oh, hey, this guy who's willing to make up numbers to make his least favorite theory in biology seem implausible made up numbers that made his least favorite theory in biology seem implausible.
It's almost like, if you just make stuff up, repeatedly, people might call that pathological.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
They might.
Oh,
Not
also,
saying they should, allegedly, in my opinion.
Yeah, Fearmonger also points out, expert in the wrong field. Yeah, Fred Hoyle was not a biologist.
Yeah.
Fred Hoyle was an astrophysicist. Now, his major contribution to astrophysics, which remains to this day, is that he's the person who first came up with the theory of stellar nucleosynthesis, whereby most of the elements heavier than basically helium were produced in stars, all the way up at least to iron, and then in novae and supernovae, even heavier elements. And that remains the basis for our current model of how heavier elements are generated. Now, we've learned a little bit more, and there's a thing about, like, not just supernovas directly from stars aging out of the main sequence, but also type 1a supernovae, which happens when neutron stars accrete too much normal matter, and the amount of normal matter passes a certain limit called the, I believe it's the Chandrasekhar limit, which then makes them explode the normal matter off. So it's a little bit more complicated, but I mean, the fundamental aspect of it is still Fred Hoyle's idea about nucleosynthesis. So I'm not saying that he was a terrible scientist who contributed nothing, but whenever he went into biology or paleontology or anything like that, he was completely out of his depth, and no one in biology or paleontology takes him seriously about that. Like, one of his famous blunders was his insistence that the feather impressions on Archaeopteryx were actually pressed into cement on the fossil, and someone used chicken feathers to press into wet cement on the fossil. He never was able to explain how it was that the cement was exactly identical to the matrix of the rest of the fossil, or how the counterslab and the slab were perfectly matched, because you can't really do that when you're faking feather impressions in cement. Never really explained. But he did whine a whole bunch when he subsequently requested that samples be taken by physically removing from the fossil for destructive testing, that he was denied that. I mean, I wonder why he would be denied further destructive
testing.
testing.
I wonder why.
Yeah. It's like, come on, dude. He's like, it's a conspiracy. It's like, or maybe you just showed yourself to be nearly completely incompetent at this, and no one wants to let you further destroy a priceless specimen of Archaeopteryx. I don't know. Maybe.
In the chat, In Kiambi said, just as Kip and Vishanti are waiting for Richard Carrier to tell us what the Pesherim is in any Jewish literature, I'm waiting for Carrier to publish his Bayes theorem to relevant math experts.
Vandali 1998 for $5 says, you mean all scientists aren't all agreeing with each other in a big conspiracy? Yeah, no, it turns out, scientists disagree with each other. And sometimes scientists who are great in one field are trash in another field. Weird, right?
But we believe there's much evidence to indicate that things are young. That certainly would indicate evolution is impossible. Well,
I mean, you haven't given any in this entire talk, but okay.
Thank you very much for your very kind attention.
All right, guys. Hey, good job, everybody. We're done. I hope everyone... No, I'm kidding. There's a Q&A section. No. There's more.
Questions?
There we go. Questions.
Okay, we have any questions here from the audience? Anyone would like to ask a question? Let's see. Okay, we got a question here in the center. Dr. Gish. Okay, you want to stand so we can hear you better.
Could you comment on the change in the atmosphere during the flood, how they affect radiometric dating?
Something about changing the atmosphere during the flood?
Yeah, I didn't hear what that was.
What's that?
Okay, what we'll do is each person come forward here.
Well, that's all right. You can repeat the question.
Pro tip, if you ask questions or get a question at a public event, you should probably repeat it into the microphone for the benefit of the audience.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Vadim Smolovsky-Rachenko asks if Gish's Q&As are as cringy as Frank Turek's ones. I don't know, because I don't know that I've ever watched anything that Frank Turek has ever done. So... See, one of the things that people assume is that I watch, like, a fair bit of just general Christian apologetics. I don't. I only care about Christians making pseudoscientific claims about things. And it's not even that they're Christian. It's just that they're pseudoscientific claims. I do not consume apologetic or general counter-apologetic material. So, yeah. But, hey, Too Young to Feel As Old has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you so much. It went to Ember... Tiny Pink Penguin, Robert Carpenter, Colin Dietrich, and Steve Weber. Here come 5 drinks. Thank you very much. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I just now remembered that someone earlier asked about the timer, and I don't recall if we addressed...
We didn't. We'll talk about it when I finish this fifth one.
Okay.
5. Yes! Oh, but wait, no, there's 5 more. Because DM banned for debunking misinformation rating has just given 5 more memberships. 1 went to HL Aristoteles, 1 went to Ren, Melee, Sable Eagle, and Chris McDaniel. Here come 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You know, I like this beer, but it's a little on the heavy side, and I kind of regret using this as my let's do a drinking game beer, because it's a little heavy for that.
Sam Adams typically doesn't make good sipping beers. They're more like, they're an event in their own right. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, look. I used to live not too far from the Sam Adams brewery, and so it was like a little nostalgia thing. Oh, yeah, it was really cool.
I had a checklist going, and I had been slowly making my way through all the different Sam Adams varieties, and there's only like one of them that I just absolutely will never drink again. The rest of them that I've had so far, I've gone through like half to 2/3 of them. There's only one that I just was like, no, this is an abomination and never needs to be tasted by anyone ever again.
No, you can't tell anyone, because
for those of you,
I want them to sponsor me. So Vishanti loves every single flavor, everybody.
Oh.
I actually don't think they're going to sponsor me. I don't think they sponsor YouTubers.
Yeah, I doubt it.
So the Sal's Bitch Made Timer. Basically, a while back I made a series of videos called Sal's Pal, and I made them a while back. And so for that entire time that they were up for early access, but weren't out for months, because I'm months ahead on that. Vishanti here was like, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? Because she wanted, Sal to watch it because it was pretty rough on his mentor, business partner, friend guy, John Sanford. I'm not exactly sure what the relationship is. I know they've collaborated on projects, and I know that in some capacity, Sal has worked for him at various points. Like, I don't know what their current relationship is, so they're close in some way. I don't know. And so he said he would watch it when it was set to premiere the first episode. And then he just wasn't in the chat during the premiere, even though he said he would be. And then eventually, after the 4th episode came out, he made a quote-unquote response to me in which he admitted to having not watched any of the videos. Here you go, English. And so then I made a quick response to one of his quote-unquote responses, which didn't actually have anything to do with my original series, but I did feel like it was a good time to just kind of dunk on genetic entropy, which is one of the stupidest ideas in young Earth creationism. And it's, John Sanford's, like, intellectual baby. And so, yeah, we started up the Bitchmate timer because basically when you say that you're going to be there for some kind of, like, intellectual discussion or confrontation or something like that, and you just kind of don't, that's when we say that you're bitch-made. Like, if you just duck out of a debate. Like, maybe you're a particular YouTube/streaming site, political commentary comedian, and people have been like, you should debate Sam Cedar, you should do that. And then you schedule a debate, and turns out Sam Cedar's there, and then you just kind of bail. You're bitch-made. Yeah. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, I envy you. So...
Sal Cordova's the Richard Carrier of responding to videos.
Ouch. And Lyda Peterson used the Blue Sky invite, apparently. Thank you very much.
Yay!
Yep. Basically, I have like 4 or 5 Blue Sky invites, and like I never am going to use all of those in a time. So yeah, every once in a while, I'm just like, here's one in the live chat. You can just have it.
Yeah, if anybody wants one, I have like 4 or 5 to give away, so just message me on Discord or something like that.
Oh, you ran out of people in the tribe to give them to?
Yeah, because most of us all like had gone over by that point, and all the academics that I was going to give one to are already over there. P.S. Kip Davis, start using your Blue Sky, and yeah.
Also, send me what your handle is on Blue Sky, because I don't follow you right now. Anyway, okay, here we go. Oh, wait, hold on. I've just noticed that we have 33 likes and only 92 viewers, but only 33 likes, which means that, unfortunately, I like less than half of you, half as well as you deserve. Hit that like button, everybody. It really does help. Unless you, of course, want to just keep getting Bilbo'd. You don't want to keep getting Bilbo'd.
Spaghettios. Nope.
Actually, I had someone ask me, like, why are you referencing The Hobbit? I'm like, I'm not. That's not what that line is from. It's from The Lord of the Rings. The birthday party. Bilbo's 111st birthday.
Gosh, get your references right.
I know, come on. How can you mix up Bilbo's 111st birthday and The Lord of the Rings with anything that happens in The Hobbit? Ugh. Next thing you'll be telling me, like, Galadriel made the Silmarillions or something. When we all know it was Feanor. And they'll probably start telling me that, like, Orome and not Vale was the Maya of smithing or something.
Dude.
What?
No, I just laugh because all of the like deep Silmarillion lore and stuff, it's like a running joke for like hardcore Silmarillion fans, because like y'all are the only ones that get it.
I know.
And I have friends that like will cosplay from the Silmarillion, and like they're the only ones that understand their own costumes. But it's very rewarding for them, so I support it.
It's like, no, I'm not Sauron, I'm Melkor, thank you. The first Dark Lord, actually. You might not have heard of him.
Name 3 of his albums.
Tracy Roberts just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships while we're talking about completely off-topic things, because Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion are fun. But they went to Jester, Lord of Fools, Cat T, Mira DeFalco, Finn, and William Hopkins. Here come 5 more drinks, and then we'll actually hit play for realsies. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Thank you so much. All right, here we go.
In the atmosphere during the flood and how they affected radiometric data?
Oh, yes. Well, it would possibly have affected.
Repeat the question, Gish. I hate that. It's just repeat the question.
Radiometric dating. Many other things that occurred at that time could affect radiometric dating. Certainly the carbon-14 would be changed because the amount of carbon dioxide was in the atmosphere at that time, the amount of water vapor certainly would affect the rate of production of...
Oh, Inkboy has a membership chat. Inkboy's been a member for 20 months and is at the amulet level and says, nobody discouraged me from using heavy machinery under influence, so I am playing Farming Simulator right now and calling my ex. Well, good luck. I hope you don't get injured in Farm Simulator or that your ex is an unpleasant person to talk to right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Actually, I got a text from my ex not that long ago saying that her car was stolen. That was interesting. I was like, oh, what? Sucks. Sorry. I don't know what to do. Like, what do I do with that? Like, I'm not going to get you a new car if that's what you're wondering. But I mean, she's okay. So there's that.
What is it? See, tell Dapper Dinosaur to read the bonus membership chat.
That was what that was.
Yeah, and then let's see. I don't even know if Dapper and Vajante are even interested in debating, given that history graduates and scholar literate people don't typically debate. Yeah, I mean...
Here's the thing with Richard Carrier. It's off topic for my channel, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care all that much about him. He's also kind of a smug asshole.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I might be willing to host a debate with him. I don't think I would be the right person to debate him. That's why I didn't lead the discussion on the historicity. I just did it where I was an interviewer with Kip. But, like, also, Richard Carrier charges a speaking fee to appear on YouTube. So I'll tell you what. If someone wants to pay for a speaking fee for me and Dr. Kip Davis and Richard Carrier, I will be happy to host and fairly moderate a debate between those two. But the speaking fee for me is going to be at least $1,000 US, and I think that Kip Davis is also in a similar situation. So yeah, if you can get together a few grand, yeah, sure, maybe. Nathaniel, helium can't escape the Earth, Gray. Remember that claim? That helium can't escape the Earth? Oh my goodness, even though it does it routinely every single day. Ugh. Says Mothra, so first we take a drink for the Mothra. Cut him some slack. He doesn't do very much public speaking. He doesn't know the obvious stuff to make it easy to listen or to understand. That's the thing, though. This is like his entire job is public speaking. Dwayne Gish does public speaking all the time. All right, we're going to hit play.
Carbon-14. The way carbon-14 is produced, the ultraviolet light of the sun...
Nope. It's cosmic rays. Okay, Finn, member for 5 months, says, thank you for the membership, and also, meep. Do you meep or do you meep for limes? Meep, long live limes, F big lemons. How much to eat a lime? Actually, I think I only have, like, 2/3 of a lime right now in the house, and I think it's probably time for me to throw it out anyway. So it would be a fair bit for me to eat that particular lime, because it's too old to still be in the refrigerator at this point. I got it when I was drinking some Corona. Which I don't even remember why I was drinking Corona. It has something to do with Mexico. Obviously, because it's a Mexican beer, and it was on theme. And I don't remember what it was that I was doing that had anything to do with Mexico. I don't know. Maybe it was like Dia de los Muertos or something. I don't know. I actually have 2 pictures for Dia de los Muertos up in one of the rooms in the house, just randomly. It was a very fancily dressed, 2 very, very fancily dressed skeletons. One in a, a fancy party dress, and the other one in a top hat and a suit. And yeah, they're just up because someone bought them for the house for like Halloween or something, which was weird because they're not Halloween decorations, and they just stayed up on the wall. I'm like, okay, cool.
converts ordinary nitrogen, which is nitrogen-14, into carbon-14?
It's more complicated than that. But it's kind of it. Look, I don't want to go as far into it as it would take to be like, well, okay, it's actually, the cosmic rays causing nitrogen capture and nitrogen-14, which then converts it. It's close enough to being right. It's not strictly UVs that's doing this, it's cosmic rays, but whatever. I'm just going to move on from that because I don't actually want to get into a whole nuclear reactions thing. Especially because whenever I talk about nuclear reactions, and I start talking about either spontaneous or induced nuclear reactions, someone, often a creationist, will push up their glasses higher up onto their nose and say, well, actually, if you talk about, and then we'll say the other kind of nuclear reaction, and then say things that I already know but wasn't talking about because I didn't specify induced versus spontaneous nuclear reactions, and it's a whole big thing. Plus, I spent years in the Navy doing nuclear stuff. I don't want to do it right now.
Then the carbon-14 decays back to nitrogen-14. So
yeah, that's close enough. I'm not going to drink for it being right, but it's close enough that I'm not going to spend time trying to fix all of it.
So if there were any change in the atmosphere, amount of water vapor in the atmosphere, the pressure and so forth, it could affect that rate of production of carbon-14 from nitrogen-14.
So it is true that different atmospheric conditions and just different times throughout the history of Earth, as far as we can measure it with carbon-14 dating, there have been different amounts of carbon-14 production in the atmosphere. That's why carbon-14 has a calibration curve. And so what happens is you check samples with carbon-14 that you can also check via other dating methods, right? So you have like electron spin resonance. There's one where you can check things like pottery for the last time that they were in direct sunlight, based on like there are certain atoms in fired pottery that will actually hold on to small amounts of energy from sunlight and will then emit photons at characteristic wavelengths at a known rate, and the rate at which they emit them, obviously there's an exponential decay, so you can check that. You can check with dendrochronology at similar archaeological sites. And so when all this stuff is put together, you can test these various carbon dates against other dating methods, and so then you can develop a calibration curve. And you can tell when there was more carbon-14 in the atmosphere and when there was less. And it does mean that sometimes you can test something with radiometric carbon dating, so carbon-14 dating, and you can get more than one viable option, and then you have to use other things to cross-confirm to figure out which one is the more plausible. So it does cause some problems, right? But it's something we can check for. And there are also samples that we know are inappropriate for carbon dating. So for instance, oceanic samples are just generally not carbon dated because the ocean tends to contain much more old carbon. Also, samples that are relatively recent, but that have been collected from near roads, are known to have particularly old carbon because there's this thing humans like to do called burning fossil fuels. And where's one of the places where the most fossil fuels are burned, where there's still a bunch of animals and plants? Roadsides. And if you know anything about fossil fuels, they're really old, so they tend not to have a whole lot of carbon-14 in them, which means that the carbon absorbed by the plants in that area that are then eaten by the animals in that area and so on tend to already be anomalously old carbon, so we don't tend to use carbon dating for things that have been near roads since cars were invented. But then again, those things are all mostly very young anyway, so there's not much need to carbon date them in the first place, so it's not a huge barrier. But yeah, we know all of these things, right? Like, we've accounted for this. Silver Harlow for $5 says, they're the same picture meme with AIG, the YouTube strike system, and a bag of, yeah, you know the rest. Happy Hanukkah. We'll take a drink for that. Thank you very much. Happy Hanukkah to you too. Actually, I said to Bent when I got the gift from David Hercules, I was like, it's almost like I'm getting a Hanukkah present. Because, it was like the first day of Hanukkah when they arrived. Although I don't think anyone who would normally be giving me a Carolina Reaper pork sausage for Hanukkah.
I mean, I'm not going to judge.
I mean, hey, I'm not even pretending to follow any Jewish dietary strictures. I'm not Jewish. And even if you are, and you're also eating pork, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either.
Yep. Look, I am a person who encourages people to do whatever kinds of like if you wanted to go do a fast, go do it fast. If you want to avoid certain things for ethical or religious reasons or things like that, hey, go for it. But what I'm against is you using that as a basis to judge other people. Remember once I was discussing a religious fast with a priest once. And he told me something that stuck with me. He said, I think the rule of thumb for fasting, and I'm paraphrasing here, but the rule of thumb for fasting should be to keep your eyes on your own plate and to never look at your neighbor's plate.
Yeah.
With the idea being that if your neighbor isn't following the fast as strictly as you do, and I'm extending this to just general dietary restrictions for various ethical or religious reasons, pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to how you are keeping whatever dietary restrictions you have imposed upon yourself for whatever reasons. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Unless it's like eating babies or something. I don't know. Like, you know.
Yeah.
It's cannibalism and they murdered a bunch of people. Then, okay, well, we can take a look at, like, that plate and be like, no, let's not do that. But otherwise, yeah. Keep an eye on your own food, not other people's.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And so that would affect that. Now, whether it would affect these other isotopes, I don't know, but there would be many changes would be caused by the flood. There had to be much more water vapor in the atmosphere before the flood than there is today.
Based on what? I love how he just says this as if, well, obviously there had to be way more water vapor in the atmosphere before the flood. And I'm just like, why? Aren't you one of those types who believes that there was no rain before the flood? How much water vapor could there have been? Was the entire planet just as humid as, like, Florida in the summer? Because that sounds like a nightmare.
Oh, God.
It's like, oh, hey, welcome to pre-flood Earth. It's a swamp. Oh, thanks. But it's a swamp where the rain never comes to cool off the place. So it's just constant, like, wet sauna levels of awfulness. Silver Harlow says, I would extend that principle to pay attention to your own bedroom, but don't peek in anyone else's. Yeah, as long as everything's consensual, then I'm with you on that. Mm-hmm. Yep, the only reason for you to peek into what someone else is doing in the bedroom is if there is a very good reason to think that there is something that not everyone there is consenting to.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which, of course, ties into the whole, like, you know, don't kill and eat people for dietary things, right? Because chances are that person didn't consent to that. Although there was that case in Germany where that was a controversial issue because the person did consent to being killed and eaten. So
that's
was, like,
true.
An extensive paper trail on that. And I was like, oh, what do you do there? And it turns out the answer, at least for the German course, was, yeah, no, we're still going to prosecute.
Yeah.
Which, seems like the right answer to me. I don't think that the fact that someone asks you to do that should
that's fair.
Be warrant for you to do it. We're never getting monetized again.
Because the Bible tells us to rain very hard for 40 days and 40 nights over the entire surface of the earth. Now, that cannot happen today because there's just enough water vapor in the atmosphere now. If it rained over the entire surface of the earth, you'd only get about 1 to 2 inches of rain, and that's all.
Well, so hold on. How did the water vapor stay in the atmosphere such that there was enough of it to rain for 40 days and 40 nights, right? Because, I mean, if you read the Bible, right, and you're just going to do the plain reading like creationists pretend that they want us to do, the answer for how could it rain for 40 days and 40 nights isn't to do with water vapor, right? It has to do with the fact that there's an essentially infinite cosmic ocean above the Earth, and there are physical windows in the dome over the flat Earth that God can just open, and it'll just rain for as long as they're open, because essentially there's a limitless amount of water above and below the Earth to draw from. Right? So that's what the actual authors of Genesis are imagining. That's why it says that the floodgates of heaven were opened. That's what those are. They're actual physical gates in the firmament, the dome over the flat Earth, that lets in the cosmic ocean. So that's the idea the Bible is promulgating. But Dwayne Gish isn't a flurf. In fact, flirts were largely unknown in creationism at this point, right? That wasn't really a thing until the 21st century. So he has to make up this thing about air, water vapor, and whatnot. But what stopped it from raining before that? How did that water vapor just stay suspended in the air? I don't know. TM banned for debunking misinformation, Wing says. Drink for getting demonetized again. Yeah. Look, if it's not for super chats and membership milestone or membership gifts and super stickers, these streams probably wouldn't make any money. Thank you. There's the drink for that.
But there had to be much more water vapor then than there is now. By the way, that would not provide enough water to flood the earth.
That's probably true. Okay, sure, we'll take a drink for it.
However, first of all, the mountains were much lower before the flood than they are today.
I love this bit because it's so blatantly just a, well, we just made this up because it makes our ideas work better. Right? There's no actual evidence that the mountains were lower in the past on average. I mean, certain mountains obviously were lower, right? Like we know the Himalayas are growing now, which means that at least for a while, if you go back in the past, they were shorter. But like, the Appalachians weren't shorter in the past, they were taller in the past. In fact, we have good reason to think that at their height, they were significantly taller than the modern Himalayas are. So this is just a thing that they just say, because if there's less surface relief on the Earth, it takes less water to flood the Earth. So it's convenient for them. I mean, I don't know why they just don't say that the Earth was a completely smooth ball of glass or something. Like, why not? It's just as ridiculous. There's no more or less evidence for it. Say the entire Earth was just a smooth ball of glass except for one big puddle that was just the ocean. Okay, sure. I mean, it's dumb, but is it less dumb? No.
Been uplifted thousands of feet. Secondly, the Bible speaks of the rupture of these subterranean reservoirs of water. Tremendous.
Actually talks about the fountains of the great deep, the Tehom. And Tehom is actually etymologically connected to the word Tiamat, which is the great chaos serpent of the cosmic ocean that you get in ancient Near East creation myths. This is not talking about some reserve of water underneath the ocean around a spherical planet. This is talking about the great cosmic ocean that surrounds the flat Earth that God is allowing water to come in from both below and above. Basically, what it's saying is God let the waters of chaos prevail over the entire flat Earth from all directions. That's the point that Genesis is making here. The reason that no one interprets it that way today, unless they know a whole lot more about ancient Near East creation myths and the cultural context of Genesis than most people do, is because we all know that pretty much all of that cosmology isn't actually true, right? There isn't a cosmic ocean that could flood the Earth. The Earth isn't flat. There isn't a solid dome over it. You can't just displace, or you can't just let water flow into an area without displacing the particulate air, which people didn't even know existed back when the Bible was being written. Because you remember, Genesis was written before most of the world realized that air was a thing that existed. They knew wind existed. But if there was no wind, they didn't know that there was a thing there. It was just emptiness. Now, the Greeks did have an idea about, like, maybe nature doesn't like complete emptiness, and so maybe there was a substance. That's why they had air as, like, a element, and that idea did spread around. But in the early parts of, like, the Iron Age and throughout most of the Bronze Age, people didn't think air was a thing. It's not intuitively obvious to humans. It's another reason why intuition is a really bad idea in science. Don't follow your intuition in science, follow the data. And so Dwayne is here having to reinterpret all of this stuff that he says he's just taking the plain meaning of. And he has to just mangle it, right? Like, none of this is anything like what the Bible is actually trying to convey, at least in terms of what the authors were thinking about. And I'm not even saying that necessarily the authors of Genesis were trying to tell you that this is literally what happened, because they knew that they were making changes to ancient myths for polemic purposes, and that the things that they were saying, they were themselves making up. Now, they were consistent with their beliefs about the supremacy of their god over the other gods. So they were making up what to them was a plausible myth, but they knew what they were doing, right? I don't think they were delusional about this, that they were just receiving divine inspiration from God, because that wasn't even an idea that existed at the time. So, yeah, Dwayne is here just badly betraying how little he actually takes the Bible seriously when it comes to an actual plain reading of the scriptures in their context. He has no care about that. His context is a theological tradition that originated thousands of years later, and that would be completely alien to the authors of Genesis. Maybe not completely, because there are some similarities. There is a thread that connects them, right? But by and large, the authors of Genesis would not recognize the theology of Dwayne Gish. So, I'm going to hit play unless, Vishanti, you have anything to add to that?
Nope. I think you pretty much got it.
Thanks.
Furthermore, I believe very likely that the ocean floors rose and the continental floors dropped during the flood or preceding.
Well, that's convenient. How did that happen, pray tell? It's just like, I believe whatever makes it more convenient for me. It's like, okay, but dude, that's very obvious. You know what, we're going to take a quick break with that one. We'll be back in just a minute. I'm going to grab myself another beer out of the fridge. And when we're back, I'll give my quick little commercial spiel, and then we'll continue on. Vishanti, do you have anything to say before we get out of here on intermission?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, please enjoy the musical stylings of Beethoven. And we will be back in just a little bit. All right, we are back. Thank you for sticking with us, everyone who did. DM banned for debunking misinformation. Wayne for $2 says, drink for getting demonetized again. It's not an official drink trigger, so it is up to your discretion. I'm not going to increment the drink counter, but if you want to drink for that one, feel free. All right, so I know it's been a bit of a topic on the stream so far already, but I am going to do my typical right after the break little talk, which is to say that this channel is almost entirely dependent on you guys, which has been driven home especially in this December, right? YouTube took away my ability to monetize this channel directly, and you guys stepped up. Now, if you're someone who is not currently supporting the channel financially, but that's something that you're interested in, you want to help make sure that this channel can persist, I guess, indefinitely. I mean, it's obviously not going to last forever, but hopefully we can make many, many more years out of it. There are a number of great ways that I have set up to help you do that. We have a Patreon linked in the description. You can get early access to videos. You can get access to the super secret supporter-only Discord server. It's not super secret, but it is supporters only. You can get access to me, basically, right? That's basically what the Discord server is for, right? It's easy to get a hold of me that way. Now, how timely my response is going to be is going to depend on how online I am at the time. So, you know, there is that. But you can get your name in the credits, all sorts of stuff like that. We also have the channel memberships, which in addition to all the same benefits, you can get the emojis in the chat here. So you can send the tetrapod emoji, the fling emoji. You can send the Andrew Snelling is a liar emoji. You can send the citation needed emoji. All sorts of great emojis there. The Vishanti emoji. Vishanti's got her own emoji.
Speaking of, go ahead and finish your spiel, and then I have a thing to address.
Okay.
It's a good thing.
Also, you can get a 15% discount if you go annual on the Patreon. But if a monthly or an annual thing isn't your deal, we also have things like there's a merch store link in the description. There's an Amazon wish list. There's also just super chatting and sending super stickers or super thanks, things like that. All of it helps. And if you are not able to support financially or you just don't want to, that's fine too. Please share my videos, like my videos. That kind of stuff really helps the algorithm. And if you want, just watch a few of my videos in a row, right? Like when you're off cleaning up the kitchen or on a long drive, just put a few videos on and go through them. I think that is about it. Although also Vishanti does have her own wish list, which I believe I linked in the description. I did. There you go. I did it. So, Vishanti, what did you have for us?
Earlier in the week, Nee had asked me about Jews for Jesus and was asking if I was ever a part of them, and I was not. I was just an unaffiliated person who for a while thought that being a messianic quote-unquote Jew was a thing, and no, I was never affiliated with Jews for Jesus. I actually, at the time, thought they were kind of ridiculous because of certain ideas that the official group figured were applicable, and of course, it's all kind of nonsense, but whatever, it's fine.
Vadim Smalsky-Roshenko says, Dapper Dinosaur, you mean the Vish list? Yes.
Yes, the Vish list.
The Vish list, obviously. All right, we're going to get some more Dwayne Gish in here. And, and by the way, I do want to say thank you very much. I know that I actually have more things on the way for my wish list, so I really do appreciate it. So yeah, I really love that. It is also a great way to get me to read a message of yours if you can't be there for a stream, because I do read out the cards that you send. So I actually had one person who was like, for some reason, YouTube won't take my payments. Can I just send you a thing from your wish list and you can read off the comment? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So they got me something small from the wish list and I just read off the comment because, I mean, I really appreciate it whenever anyone gets me something from the wish list. I actually have more printer resin for my 3D printer on the way from my wish list. So that's pretty cool because I'm actually already starting to run low. I've been using that thing a lot because 3D printing is just so cool. So yeah.
It is.
All right, here we go.
In the flood. This would flood the earth to a depth of 2 miles without a drop of rain. Then they subsided, the ocean floors subsided after the flood, the continental floors rose.
I love how he's basically just admitting my entire reason for believing this is that it makes my job easier to explain the flood. Right? Like, he's not citing any evidence. He's just like, well, you know, if the ocean floor rose up and the land sank down, that would already flood the world quite a bit. Isn't that great? It's like, yeah, if. That if is carrying a lot of weight for you, Dwayne. Get anything to go behind that if? No? Okay. DM banned for debunking misinformation wing says, Dapper, do you need rice? I can send rice with a Godzilla. We'll take a drink for the Godzilla first.
God. think you got enough rice to last you for the rest of your life.
I do not need more rice. I believe currently I have about 50 pounds of rice in the house. Dried rice. Yep, I do not currently need rice. There is rice currently in the refrigerator, standing by for post Power Rangers after this, because we are doing Power Rangers after this. We're going to do some Korean-style egg and tofu fried rice with kimchi. So Korean-style kimchi, egg and tofu fried rice. Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. Casa Dino usually has some kimchi in the refrigerator. Because kimchi is really healthy, and I really love it. It's really good. I mean, I eat it just like a bowl of kimchi. It's, you know, you put it in like with some rice and some meat and veggies, right? Mix it in there. That's how I love to eat kimchi. Although I do know people who just eat a bowl of kimchi. It's just not me. The texture isn't quite there for me on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Now, the ocean floors today are several thousand feet lower than they were in the past. We know that because they're drowned islands. They're called guyotts, G-U-Y.
Yes, that's definitely the ocean floor being lower and not the ocean levels rising. Come on, man. What's easier? In the past, it was warmer, and so there wasn't a whole bunch of ice on land, meaning that sea levels were higher, or other times in the past, it was colder, you know, like during a glacial maximum, and there was more ice on land, and so the sea levels were lower. Yeah, no, instead it's just the movement of the actual rock of the Earth's crust up and down for no discernible reason. Just taking a drink for this, because it's just so obvious that the better explanation is changes in the water level as a result of the amount of ice on land, and he's just skipping right past that and going straight into, well, maybe the rocks were sinking up and down like a plumb bob, but there you go. That was me inhaling a tiny bit of beer.
Oops.
Yeah, but it's time for another beer. So I will pour this next beer. Oh, hey, in Michigan or Oregon, I could get 10 cents for this beer. It's a beer bottle. Too bad I live very far away from either of those places. But hey, if I were back in Massachusetts, I could get 5 cents. Yeah. You know, in Massachusetts, it was not uncommon to see people rooting through recycling bins for, like, beer bottles and soda cans so that they could collect a giant
people do that
bag
all
of
the time
those.
Here.
Yeah.
It was
Arizona
actually when I first moved here, it was a really good way for me to get some extra cash when things were tight. So I'd save up all my recycling and go get, 10, 15 bucks at a time.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go.
OTS, guyotts, that were at the surface or above the surface of the ocean at one time. Now they're several thousand feet below the surface. So the ocean floors are much deeper today than they were in the past. We believe that happened very rapidly during the time of the flood. Now all of these...
And I love how he doesn't even try to give anything to back that up. He doesn't give it any mechanism.
Nope,
Certainly
he
doesn't
just
give a
says
citation. Yeah, it's just a thing he says.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I
know
that generally speaking, I shouldn't inhale beer literally. Guys, I get it. But, sometimes the fact that my breathing tube is connected to my food tube is a problem. It just happens.
Accidents and not on purposes.
Yeah. And also, maybe one of those design features of the just general tetrapod body that maybe God should have thought about more than once before he implemented it.
That elbow.
Yeah, that and elbows. Because obviously I want my breathing tube connected to and next to my food tube so that I might die from having food go the wrong way.
Yeah.
Best option for design. Definitely. It's kind of like having like your car's exhaust also connect directly to the fuel tank, and that being how you refuel the car. Like, no one would do that. That's horrible. And yet, that's basically how tetrapods work. It's like, oh, thanks. That's bad.
Yeah. Not ideal.
No, not at all.
Would affect certainly carbon-14. Now,
I forgot we were talking about carbon-14 this whole time.
While Dwayne coughs up a hairball.
Like... Well, hey, you know what? I'm not going to fault Dwayne for wanting to keep his fur nice and clean.
It affected the age. You know, if you look at the Bible, the age of humans decreased after the flood. They were over 900 years before, then they decreased after the flood. Obviously, the change that took place did drastically affect the lifespan.
Or maybe it was people using a literary device to indicate the greatness and wisdom of their ancestors and indicate a sort of golden age in the past when people were much wiser, which was a relatively common theme at the time, and then showing how we degenerated to our current state from our formerly exalted state, and so they just kind of made up some numbers that fit with that. And yeah, they probably did some cool numerology stuff with them. But I'm sorry, what were you saying? I interrupted. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say, it's just literal history.
Yeah, obviously that's the most likely
wanted it all to be taken completely literally, word for word.
Yeah, there's no other option for that than that. Yeah.
Nope, no other intent.
Excuse me. The atmospheric pressure was higher before the flood. That would have a beneficial effect.
How do they know that?
Nutrients could have been washed out of the soil by the flood. And the climate changed dramatically. We find fossils of dinosaurs.
But they don't believe in climate change.
Well, okay. It's young Earth creationists, even at this time, did believe that the climate had changed in the past. Right? Like, they didn't deny, like, the Little Ice Age or the year without a summer or, like, the medieval warm period or... the fact that the climate before the flood probably would have had to have been different from the climate after.
I know. I'm just being sardonic. They just think that humans aren't causing it. And even if humans were causing it, well, Bible says that, there's always going to be seasons. So the idea that we can't change anything, God's just going to fix it and stuff, etc. reasons, it's all ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm going to point out in one of my recent videos, I pointed out that there are other options for Christians to use that are equally well-founded, at least in the Bible and in, traditional Christian theology that do not involve just crapping all over the environment. Maybe you could take one of those routes. And I use as an example the current Eastern Orthodox Patriarch of Constantinople, Bartholomew, who has written numerous books about the responsibility of humans to the environment and how currently they are absolutely failing in their commission to not just be lords over the earth, but stewards of it, which implies a sense of an obligation to protect, right? Like if you say, I'm a steward of someone, and that person is my ward, right? Like Bruce Wayne has an obligation to protect Dick Grayson, right? Like that's a thing, which also means that bringing him on dangerous vigilante missions might not actually be the best option.
Yeah, well, but, he's not the greatest decision maker.
Well, despite being like supernaturally intelligent, that man still sometimes has some poor judgment.
Caden Slinker says, "Happy Hanukkah to the people in Israel." Vel kolyo shvete vel.
All right.
Like, why just Israel, bro?
I mean, it is probably the place that has the largest proportion of the population celebrating Hanukkah, I guess.
I mean, yeah, but
yeah, anyway. I mean, look.
All
right. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out there. That there are other like authentically Christian options for your interaction with the environment besides. Now, Jesus is probably coming back in the next 5 minutes, so let them fossil fuels burn, baby. Let's roll some coal down the street. Yeah, there's other options than that. Yeah. Especially since, I don't know if you know this, but amillennialism, the idea that there's not going to be a particular, 1,000-year reign before or even necessarily after Jesus coming, and so you shouldn't really have any particular expectation about a, imminent time frame for a return of Jesus, and that you should, treat the world as if it's going to keep persisting because you don't know anything about timing. Yeah, that's a thing that Christians can believe. That's part of that's a big part of a large number of Christian groups' theology. Yeah, you can just do that if you're a Christian and feel like you need to take care of the world. Remember wasn't there some parable about a man leaving his various well, most translations will use the word servant, but you know, the actual Greek is a little bit more harsh as to the relationship between these people and their master. But leaving each of them with some money, and then they do various things, and the one who kind of just squanders the money is the one who gets punished. But the one who, you know, not only protects it but multiplies the money, he's rewarded. It almost feels like in Genesis, God is, at least according to some Christian interpretations, leaving humans in charge of the earth in the same way that that master was leaving his servant in charge of the money. And that maybe instead of squandering all of it, you should be protecting it and helping it grow. Well, look, I'm not your priest. I'm not your rabbi. I'm not your imam. I'm just saying, there are ways to be theologically consistently Christian without being a terrible, terrible anti-environmentalist person. Just putting it out there.
The north shore of Alaska, way above the Arctic Circle, we find fossils of dinosaurs in Antarctica.
I mean, that's true. Take a drink. It's almost like those places, like, one, the Earth was warmer in the past, and also like those places weren't always near the poles. Ink Boy for $10, or sorry, 10 euros, not dollars, those are euros, which also make me hungry because now I want a euro. Anyway, I find it funny how they say that every bad thing on Earth has been caused by eating an apple, but we don't influence the weather of Earth by putting billions of tons of CO2. Also, AIG is a bag of dicks, so yes, we will take a drink for that. Yeah, no, it is a little odd how humans can, on the one hand, have the power to completely curse all of creation because two humans ate some fruit. Although, you know, technically it doesn't say apple anywhere. That's just
it doesn't say apple.
Yeah, that's just the traditional interpretation in European art of the fruit because that was one of the most common fruit that they had growing on trees there. Because in a lot of Europe, you don't get a whole lot of like citrus trees or anything. So you know.
It's cold for that.
Yeah, so what's the fruit that grows most prominently on trees in Europe? That's like, you know, big and easy to paint? Apples. But yeah, like in other places, you can see it depicted as like a pomegranate and things like that, which I actually think is more likely because pomegranates were a significant aspect of religious symbolism throughout the ancient Near East. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I personally think that a pomegranate is a more likely for like what was actually being thought of by the people to whom Genesis 2 and 3 were written. But I'm also not going to say that's definitely what it was either. It just says fruit. So, you know. But anyway, yeah, it is weird that on the one hand, according to some Christians, humans can have the power to doom the entire universe. Just all of the cosmos. But also, no. There's no way humans could be affecting the climate here on Earth via easily, verifiably, scientifically sound mechanisms. Like, no, not possible. Okay. Jessica, for $4.99 US, says, is there not a passage in the Bible that says God will come to see those who destroy the earth or worse to that effect? Did I just make that up? I'm not familiar with a verse that could be easily paraphrased that way. But I mean, the Bible does not have kind words for people who like despoil the earth, even in times of war, right? Like one of the fairly strict commandments about how to conduct yourself in war in the Bible is things like don't burn down or cut down trees when you're you're on the war path, right? Things like that, because that is, in addition to the violence that you're committing in the war, that's a long-lasting stain on the land itself, right? When you go through and do like a scorched earth war tactic. The Bible is very much like, no, don't do that. That's not okay.
Yeah, Hashem loves trees, so
I mean, there are bits where it seems like he likes trees more than people.
I mean, look.
We put all the inhabitants of this city to the sword.
Don't destroy trees when you're... Yeah, don't go destroying trees when you're laying siege to a place. Like, we have a New Year for trees. You know, and don't do it. Trees are good. Trees
are... Bible's a big fan of trees overall. I mean, there is that one big tree, but whatever. DM banned for debunking misinformation wing. Well, I mean, it didn't have fruit when it wasn't in season, so I mean, how dare it?
Exactly. It's its own tree. This tree's own fault, man. Yeah. Should have bore fruit at a random time. Yeah. That some dude was walking by.
Exactly. Although, I mean, one, I don't think that story literally happened, but two, it was obviously some kind of parable and not supposed to be a story about how much Jesus doesn't know when figs are supposed to grow. So, you know.
Well,
DM,
I mean, he's perfect. Gosh, they should just do it anyway.
Well, I mean, I guess in the internal narrative, he probably could have done that too, but then it wouldn't have been the object lesson.
Hey, yeah. I know.
DM, banned for debunking misinformation wing, for $5, says, young Earth creationists are the Richard carriers of taking responsibility for their actions. And Mothra. We'll take a drink for Mothra. Thank you very much. By the way, please use the Richard Carrier of meme everywhere you can. I want that to become a new common meme just across the internet. Twitch, who's been a member for 2 months and is at the emulate level, says, I like dogs more than people. Look, dogs are easy to like, and not every human is easy to like. So on average, I'm more likely to like a random dog than a random person. I'll say that. Yeah. It's very rare that I meet a dog that I actively dislike. It's far more common with humans. Yeah. So, I don't know. Also, humans do terrible things to dogs knowingly, and dogs so rarely do that to humans.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when a dog does something horrible to a human, it's usually because, like, that human was, like, threatening their owner, or had been mistreating the dog, or something like that. So...
Oh, we got a climate skeptic in the chat. That's cool.
Oh.
Cadence Linker says, everything we do has an effect on climate. I don't personally believe mankind is responsible for the current rate of climate change, but we do have an effect on how fast it is changing, even if it's small. And I'm like, oh, well, you know.
Well,
all of our scientific data is in conflict with that.
Yeah.
Okay, do you?
It's not like there would not be climate change without humans. However, humans are the primary driver of the climate change currently, and that is supported by every single study of any particular rigor. So I also realized that I retracted instead of unpinning the message that had the blue sky link. So it's just been pinned but retracted for most of the stream. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm definitely a seasoned professional who definitely knows what he's doing.
Obviously, dinosaurs could not exist there now, but...
What are you talking about? Dinosaurs are one of the only thing that exists on Antarctica right now. What? I'm going to take a drink for... There couldn't maybe be any dinosaurs in Antarctica, despite the fact that they're, like, the most numerous inhabitants of Antarctica. Okay, Dwayne. Also, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's also lots of dinosaurs in Alaska right now. Like puffins. If you don't like puffins, you and I might have a problem.
And then, what is with this? How about humans are mostly responsible for the current change climate? Yes. I mean, on its own, without even having to look at data, the Industrial Revolution by itself, like, kicked up enough carbon in the atmosphere to, like, contribute a large amount. Like, come on now.
Inkboy for €5 is, I believe, partially rickrolling us with trees don't let you down, trees don't make you cry, trees don't let you down, trees don't run around and desert you. It's true. They generally do not do those things. And then for some reason there's a pelagic tunicate and a heart and a dapper, so I guess pelagic tunicates love me? Well, that's weird. They shouldn't. It's definitely not mutual. Get out of here, pelagic tunicates. Go settle onto a rock like a real tunicate. A God-fearing, patriotic, hard-working American tunicate.
What they did in the times past. In other words, there's a worldwide mild climate. So that...
What about that indicates a mild climate worldwide? We also have ancient deserts all over the place, right? Like hot, sun-baked deserts that are evident in the geological column. What? That's not mild. Yeah. Earth is currently colder than it has been throughout most of its history. Okay. Now, if you're about to say, well, then why should we worry about global warming? The answer is because human society has been built up during a period of this, like, relative cool temperatures. And it will be very bad for human society if that temperature switches back to, like, the Jurassic climate over the course of a few centuries. If it happens over the course of a few 100,000 years, then, I mean, no big deal, right? People will adapt. But, if, say, everyone's house floods because, most humans live within like 30 miles of the coast, yeah, that might be a problem. And if you say to me they can just sell their houses, I will break out H Bomber Guy.
Oh, amazing. Oh, his videos are so good, though.
Yeah.
His video on the Flat Earth is also really amazing.
Watched it 4 or 5 times, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
That changed, and all these factors would come into play.
Just have a guy with a mic walking around. How hard is that? Just have a guy with a wireless mic. Or even a wired mic, because I don't know, this is like the 70s or something. Jeez.
Yeah. Also, Caden Slinger says, sorry if I stated something wrong. I've been told not to believe what climate alarmists say about climate change because it's all political. The thing is, it's not political when you're just looking at science. The people who don't want to do anything about it have turned it into something political. And that frustrates me. Because, again, we have documented records of like oil companies lying about cancer and climate change and things like that. Not oil companies, the cigarette companies lied about tobacco causing cancer, but this is stuff that they suppress. We know that they suppress studies that show, hey, fossil fuels are linked to climate change and things like that, and it's like, come on, guys. The issue here is money. So just
turkey sloth.
Can we be less greedy? That'd be great.
No, that's not an option. Actually, I actually don't think it's actually an option. I actually don't think humans are going to get any less greedy anytime soon.
Yeah, kind of depressing.
Yeah. Turkey Sloth for $4.99 says, I made it after all with a Godzilla. I'll take a drink for the Godzilla. And also, I am currently wondering if that's supposed to be a Mary Tyler Moore Show reference.
Perhaps. Also, I'm really jealous about DM Wing.
Oh, yes, because DM Wing, banned for debunking misinformation. Well, DM, banned for debunking misinformation Wing, says for $2, gonna go watch Godzilla -1. Later, nerds.
Jealous.
Well, please enjoy, and I'll take a drink for that Godzilla. Yeah, apparently it's already breaking records for, like, foreign film in the United States. Like, non-English language foreign film. Which I believe was previously held by, like, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? As, like, the previous, record holder for, like, inflation-adjusted, sales or whatnot. Which...
See, Vadim says oil companies lied about lead being in fuel not being carcinogenic, so you weren't right. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, look...
But also, yeah, Godzilla -1 is breaking all the records, and everybody that I know that's seen it already is just raving about it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like by all accounts, it's one of the best Godzilla movies ever made, which is impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, look, I personally consider the original Godzilla to be an absolute classic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I like both versions of it, right? Like, I like the American version, Godzilla King of the Monsters. I like the original Japanese Gojira. I like them for somewhat different reasons, but I think they're both great. And I also really, really liked Shin Godzilla. I thought that was an amazing movie. Those are two of
Shin Godzilla was great.
Yeah, those are two of my favorite Godzilla movies. And when people were like, no, this might be even better than either one of those, I'm just like, all right. Maya Atkinson, you've never seen a Godzilla movie? Do you and I need to have a movie night?
Really?
I think I might have to have a movie night with Maya Atkinson. We can get some wine, Maya. We can have some wine over like Discord or something. We can watch like, the original Godzilla. So, let me know. Send me a Facebook message. That's how Maya and I mostly talk, is Facebook Messenger. Because we're old.
There you go.
All right, here we go.
6,000.6 years of the Bible, and that the earth is 8 to 10,000 years old. Of a young earth, 8 to 10,000.
What are some of the evidences for that young age? Well,
thank you for repeating the question, Dwayne. You know what?
No kidding.
Good job. I'm going to take a drink for Dwayne doing the right thing there. It is so important to do things like that. And it's one of those things that you don't always think about when you're doing, like, speaking, right? Especially if you're not like a long-time public speaker. It's similar to like the other day. I was on a Discord call with like 5 other people, and we're trying to schedule another meeting. And so, we're all putting in like availability times, and people are starting to talk over each other. And so I realized, okay, the only way to get this sorted is to propose a time out loud and then ask for no one to speak unless they have a problem with it. Because I already know most people aren't going to. And so that's another one of those techniques, right? Like, you have to think about that. Like, it's not immediately obvious that this is what you need to do to get this done. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things where, like, Dwayne should probably know it. But I understand why your average public speaker who doesn't do this as, like, a big part of their life just doesn't know to do these things. So good job to Dwayne for doing this. I hope he keeps it up. Anyway.
I mentioned a few, what I believe, there's no way to date the Earth. But you can establish an upper limit for the age of the Earth.
I mean, I think there's ways to date the Earth. I mean, one, don't be weird and creepy about it. Ask nicely. Make sure you've taken a shower and brushed your teeth before you ask the Earth out. But I think if if you do a good enough job, you might be able to date the Earth. So yeah, But if the Earth says no, that's okay. There's other planets out there. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can have a nice relationship with Venus or Mars or Jupiter or something. I don't know.
It cannot be any older than that.
Also, you can't have a relationship with Saturn. It's already taken. That's why there's a ring on it.
It could be younger. Now, one factor, Dr. Thomas Barnes, University of Texas, professor there at El Paso, he noted that the magnetic field of the Earth has been determined beginning in 1835.
Oh, goodness. We're doing the exponential magnetic decay, meaning that a few thousand years ago, the Earth would basically be a magnetar. That's what's going to happen. I mean, if that's what happens, we're taking a drink for a prediction.
And it's decreasing. They measured it and know that it is decreasing with a half-life of 1,400 years. That means if you go back 1,400 years in the past.
Jester, Lord of Fools, member for 2 months, as at the amulet level says, if you're going to date Earth, please remember to buy it trees. Yeah, it's good point. Earth could stand to have a few more trees.
The magnetic field of the Earth was double what it is today. Go back 2,800 years, it'd be 4 times as great.
Okay, so that's exactly what we're doing, but I'll let him finish.
And you keep going on. Pretty soon, if you go back... Now, furthermore, he says this magnetic field of the Earth is determined by a circulating electrical current. The evolutionists believe the molten material is circulating. But that is an almost impossible theory. It just won't work.
For reasons we're not going to elucidate. Got it.
Dr. Barnes says the electrical current circulating in the core, that would generate a magnetic field. Now, of course, it will meet resistance. So the electrical current would decay with time, and therefore the magnetic field would decay. Now you go back in the past, you get a higher and higher magnetic field, you get a higher and higher electrical current, you get higher and higher temperature. And if you go back 10,000 years, under those circumstances, the matter would separate from the core. And if you go back 20,000 years, the entire Earth would vaporize from the heat.
Okay, we're taking a drink.
Oh god, a creationist talking about a heat problem. That's ironic.
No, right? Oh, man. All right, got a couple super chats, and we're going to get into this whole magnetic field decay thing. Nice. Fearmonger, the Richard Carrier of existing. Ouch, man. Way to auto burn. Oof. Says for 69 sex. Very nice. I think I'll be dating the moon since it has a pretty high libido. I mean, albedo. I totally meant albedo. No. If you want to date the planetary body with the highest albedo, you want to go for Venus, my friend. Venus has a ridiculously high albedo. You little rascal, for 100 Argentinian pesos, says Jupiter also has a ring, but it's not like he cares. Yeah, plus that ring, I mean, look, I'm not normally someone who's like, if your ring isn't big enough, then maybe you shouldn't have said yes. But I mean, have you seen Jupiter's ring compared to Saturn's ring? Jupiter is totally willing to date you and get rid of that ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. That ring is, it's not exactly the sign of the most healthy relationship. My finished filming intro. Oh, you finished. Very nice. For $2 says, actually, Saturn has many rings, so Polyamorous? I mean, hey, Saturn could have as many fiancées as Saturn wants. That's fine by me. I'm not going to tell Saturn what to do, as long as everybody involved is aware of what's going on and is consenting to it. No secrets when it comes to polyamory. That's just a recipe for disaster. Okay, so the magnetic thing, right? So it is true that in the last 150 years or so, the magnetic field of the Earth has been weakening. That's just a fact, right? And if you fit a curve to it, you can determine an exponential decay rate. That's true too. But the problem is that we also have paleomagnetic information. We know that you cannot extrapolate this back in time indefinitely. And it's one of the classic things about creationism, right? Creationists love to complain about when science uses some rate that we have no reason to think even can vary, like radiometric decay rates, right? Like physics would have to fundamentally change in order to change the spontaneous radiometric decay of the various isotopes that undergo spontaneous nuclear reactions. Specifically, I'm saying spontaneous because, yes, I am aware that induced nuclear reactions can vary on the basis of environmental factors and not just changing the laws of physics because they're induced. I get it. Please don't at me about that. I'm kind of tired of having to deal with that particular distinction. Anyway, so they'll complain about that. But then they'll take something like the rate of salts going into the ocean or the rate of change of the field strength of the magnetic field of the Earth. And they will, despite the fact that we have clear and obvious data indicating that you cannot infinitely extrapolate current processes in the past, they'll do so anyway, and then say, see, this is a problem for science. It's like, no, man, it's just you not knowing how to do anything. You're just being inconsistent with your own standards and also violating everything we know about this field. So when it comes to paleomagnetism, we have this great thing called the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. You might have heard of it. It's like a ridge that's right between, North and South America and Africa and Europe. It's pretty cool. It also runs through the middle of Greenland, if you're interested. That's why Greenland is so heavily volcanic. Not just because the elves are angry. I mean, it's partly because the elves are angry, but not just because the elves are angry. Be nice to the elves over in Greenland, guys. Don't put roads through their houses.
Don't anger them.
No. Although it is cool that Greenland is like one of the few countries out there that can get like the majority of its power through like geothermal power stations.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty sweet. Although, no, it is not going to solve climate crisis because most places can't do that. So, Anyway. Because it is spreading out and it's volcanic formation, right? Lava wells up from the middle and spreads to either side, west or east. And because this magma is liquid, when ferrous, bits of this lava, basically iron bearing, start to cool, they align themselves with the magnetic field of the Earth. And the strength to which they are aligned, the consistency of that alignment, right, is proportional to the strength of the magnetic field of the Earth, but also the direction in which they align themselves is based on the directionality of the magnetic field of the Earth. And so we know that the magnetic field of the Earth has not only fluctuated in strength, it has also reversed directions several times since the origin of the Atlantic Ocean. Now, it doesn't matter when the Atlantic Ocean originated, because even if it happened only 6,000 years ago, or 4,400 years ago, or whatever, then Greenland Inkboy says, I thought Iceland was the king of geothermal power. Look, I don't know which country has a better geothermal power grid. I just know that both countries can use geothermal power because Iceland is also one of those places that's basically right on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. So, it's just Greenland's bigger. That's why it came to mind first. But then again, I don't even know if it's more heavily populated, given how much worse it is climate-wise. But it is also the only sovereign nation in the world that currently has a Native American language as its official language. So that's cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah. Or I believe it's one of two official languages. I'm not positive about that. But still, there's no other country out there that has a Native American language as like an official administrative language that you can just do your government work in.
I love what Robert Jacques says in the chat. You're so magnetic. You got that Mid-Atlantic Riz.
Wasn't Riz the Oxford Dictionary's word of the year this year?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't pay attention to their.
I think it was. Anyway, so yeah, we know that even if the Mid-Atlantic Ridge started forming during the flood or whatever, that the magnetic field of the Earth does not simply decay, and that our 150 to 200 year record of magnetic field decaying during that time is not something we can extrapolate back in time, because we have a record of the field strength of the Earth and the directionality of the Earth's magnetic field. So, flood or no flood, old Earth or young Earth, this argument fails. Yes, Greenland actually gained its sovereignty from Denmark, I believe, not that long. It was fairly recently, right? Like, it used to be a part of the Kingdom of Denmark for quite a while, and then very recently it actually gained full independence from them. I mean, it was largely autonomous before that. Like, I believe they had their own parliament and whatnot before that. It's kind of like where Scotland is, where it's just like, they have their own parliament and they have their own set of laws, but like, they're not entirely really independent from the rest of the UK, but they also kind of are. They're more independent than Northern Ireland is, since, the English Parliament is willing to suspend parliamentary powers in Northern Ireland at the drop of a hat. But, yeah. Anyway, here's some more Dwayne.
And so he says that establishes that the age of the Earth cannot be more than 10,000 years. And that's pretty good sound data.
Just drink.
And these other systems, what they indicate is an upper limit. Say, for example, galaxies are spinning. Now, those...
Really?
You don't say.
You don't say.
Stars should fly off into space.
Yeah, what's gravity?
No, Dwayne.
What's gravity? Gravity.
Jeez.
He's just going
what's
full...
gravity?
He's going full flurf. Oh, I'm taking a drink for Dwayne Gish going full flurf.
Gravity!
Seriously, where's Desert Philo when you need him? The answer is over on Craig's channel. Yeah, that's Craig's channel.
I mean, I've been subbed to him for a while now. I mean, he still does like vlogs about his, desert drives and things like that. And he's been around. He just didn't do a whole lot of debunking,
Apparently, Greenland is still in the process of declaring independence from Denmark. All right, well, get on it, guys.
Interesting. Right?
Come on, it doesn't take that long. The United States did it in like one letter and then one war.
In a letter, yeah. Then we had to start an entire war to back it up.
Hey, that was the British that started that war.
Say whatever you want.
It was the Boston Massacre. I've walked the Freedom Trail in Boston. I mean, I have. It's right there.
We're not biased at all.
Nope.
Even a little bit.
Letters were sent to like what are currently like most of the Canadian provinces that were around at the time as colonies. Like, hey, do you want to join this? And they were just like, nah, man. No.
We're doing all right.
Yeah, we're okay being crown provinces over here, and it's all good.
It's doing us okay for now. Like, we're good.
All right, here we go.
They're going around, and they should fly off into space. How long would it take one of those galaxies to disperse? Well, depending on the galaxy and the number of stars in the galaxy and the total mass, from 1 million to 250 million years. So we can say this: if the universe is more than 250 million years old, there wouldn't be any galaxies left.
Just drink again.
So we say that's the upper limit of the age for the galaxy. That could be much.
Yeah, everything would just fly away.
So if you just ignore gravity, then the universe couldn't be old. I mean...
man!
Oh, man.
Wow, this is bad.
Galaxies would fly apart. What do you think's keeping them together right now, Dwayne? Like, literally, what do you think's happening right now? Oh my goodness.
Younger, because those galaxies all exist. Not one has dispersed.
I mean, I feel like Dwayne has never seen the antenna galaxies, which are two galaxies currently merging, and parts of them are in fact dispersing out into the intergalactic space. Like, you can watch it happen right now in real time. Granted, it's super slow because, it's galactic distances and whatnot. But it's a thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of empty space there.
Oh, yeah. Turkey Sloth for $4.99 says, Greenland's attached to North America, whereas Iceland's volcanoes are angry at you for confusing their homes for Greenland. I mean, well, Greenland isn't physically attached by a land bridge to North America, but it is partially on the North American plate. I mean, there's that. But yeah, don't mix up Greenland and Iceland. Remember, it's the opposite of what you think.
Yeah.
Iceland
exactly.
is the place
trolled
that is warmer, and Greenland is the place that's colder.
Yeah. Yes.
And yeah, although when you said trolled, and now you're talking about Greenland and Iceland, it just reminds me of the movie Troll Hunter. I love that movie. That movie's so great. I don't want to give any spoilers away.
I was thinking of... I should have said punked, because that's what is in the... What is it? The History of the World and stuff video, where he says, like, oh yeah, this one's Greenland, this is Iceland, and then he flips the arrow and says punked. And I'm like, yeah. Bill Wirtz.
Also, go see Troll Hunter at some point.
Or rent it on demand. It's great.
Yeah. Like, find a way to watch Troll Hunter. It's great.
Yes.
And there's all kinds of methods like that, all kind of physical methods.
You could have picked two that worked there, Dwayne. Except, oh wait, no you couldn't, because none of them worked.
This is ridiculous.
That you can say it cannot be any older than that. It could be much younger, just like the amount of salt in the ocean.
We've already talked about this one. Just drink again. Hey, Dwayne, remember when in your own book, Your Salt in the Ocean Technique said that for aluminum salts, the Earth couldn't be more than 200 years old? Yeah, I remember that, because I put my bookmark in Scientific Creationism on that page for that reason when I was in high school. Yeah, I'm drinking for that one.
Oh, and Jessica, yes, thank you, Jessica. I wasn't intending to imply that gravity is the only thing holding galaxies together, but yes, for the interest of clarity, Jessica says, hey, Dapper and Vishanti, sorry to do this, but gravity alone isn't strong enough to hold galaxies together, and that's why scientists have proposed dark matter. Yes.
But what is the effect of dark matter? It is producing more gravity.
Yeah, it's those things like scientists are still working on this because, you know...
So ultimately, it is still gravity, though.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of information on dark matter. It's kind of a placeholder until we kind of figure out what else is going on.
It's true, but I maintain that gravity is still the answer, because the entire point of dark matter is to explain the excess gravity that cannot be accounted for in the visible matter.
Yeah.
So, it's not like dark matter is proposed to be producing a different force. So.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, like, this is one of those little open questions. It's like, hey, is dark matter really what's going on here? Is there something else that we haven't discovered yet? Like, physics is tricky, y'all.
The Hollywood Sign is proof of Nephilim Nee, who's been a member for 7 months, says Iceland is on Greenwich Mean Time despite being located along the -1 time zone. Yeah, they probably just wanted to make it easier for travel between there and Europe. Vadim Samovsky-Richenko. The effect of dark matter is to hide the flat Earth because it's flat. Yeah, definitely. That's definitely what's happening right now.
Yeah, makes it dark so you can't see it.
Yeah.
So if you make all the extreme assumptions,
Flurspective.
Flurspective.
That there's no salt in the ocean to begin with, there never was a worldwide flood, there was an awful lot of salt in the ocean. You assume that didn't happen. A maximum age for the...
Yes.
Is there a water cycle?
Okay, I don't know. Let me double check. Let's Google. Is there a water cycle? Yes. Yes, actually there is. Yep. Turns out there is a water cycle. There's also a rock cycle, which removes salts from the ocean. So, yeah.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. The rapid fire, like, torrent of key smash.
You're welcome.
There, for this ocean, is 40 million years. That's the maximum age. It cannot be any older than that. Now, it could be much younger. If you had salt in the ocean to begin with, if you had a worldwide flood, you see, that'd bring the age way down to less than 10,000 years.
All right, well, so we're going to start wrapping up, and here's the thing. Dwayne is starting to repeat himself a whole bunch, so I'm going to have to talk to Vishanti about whether or not she actually wants to do another Gish with Vish on this video, because I also have another thing that I would like to do, which is, do you remember when we did that review of Gabriella Haynes' Archaeopteryx paper from the creation, or sorry, from, what is it? The Answers Research Journal. Yeah, the Answers Research Journal. Yeah, ARJ. Yeah, Answers Research Journal. Remember that?
Yeah, or she definitely knew what a pigsty was.
Exactly. Well, there's been some updates about that. A number of other young Earth creationists responded to her in the ARJ, being extremely critical for almost the exact same reasons that we were extremely critical. And then she responded with her own response paper to their response to her original paper.
Oh my goodness.
So it might be time for another Dapper Journal Club.
Because, like, I'll be honest with you, I am very much overhearing Dwayne Gish garble his way through nonsense.
Very fair. So I think what we might do next time is actually just do another Dapper Journal Club, where we take a look at the response to the Gabrielle Haynes, which means I would recommend that everyone check out that video that we did, because it will be important context, and I will be linking it, hopefully, in the description to the next Saturday stream. So, with that, though, we're going to start wrapping things up. Vishanti, do you have anything you want to let people know about?
No, just that I've got lots of things in the pipeline, but, you know, real-world events have made it extremely difficult to get those done. Because I was on track to channel stuff until October happened. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I'll announce whenever it's ready to go.
Okay. How long have you been saying that now?
About 1.5 years.
Okay, just checking. Better be a great video.
Listen, I know I deserve the roast, okay? I'm not lying to myself. I know that I'm behind, but yeah, it's, again,
fair enough.
Stuff
Right.
and things.
So, I'm going to state what's coming up next in the next week or so, barring random-ass strikes for no reason. Because apparently that's just a thing that I have to worry about, which is great. But anyway, let's take a look at what is coming up on the channel. So, on Tuesday, normally it would be a Kent with Bent, but we are not doing a Kent with Bent because Jackson Wheat would rather not do a Jackson with Jackson the second day of Christmas. So instead, we're going to have Jackson Wheat come on for, what is that, the 5th day of Hanukkah or something? I don't want to do math.
I'm not even going to look at a calendar.
Okay, well, today's what, the second day?
Yeah.
3, 4, 5. Well, I guess technically it'll probably be after sundown for most people, so I guess technically it'll be the 6th day of Hanukkah.
Okay.
So there you go. Okay. Jackson Wheat will be here for, depending on where you live, the 5th or 6th day of Hanukkah. So there you go.
Okay, that works.
Yeah, that'll be a Jackson with Jackson. Then on Thursday, I am premiering the first episode of a new series. Well, it's not new if you have early access, but it is new if you don't. It is Batty Bodie's Dinosaur Delusions, which is about Bodie Hodge, Ken Ham's son-in-law, and speaker for Answers in Genesis, and he's got a whole lot of stuff to say about dinosaurs. And the first episode is titled, It's Time for Biblical Geocentrism, Baby. Because, yep. Some of the things that he says in there seem to imply that geocentrism should be the way that Christians think about the cosmos, which I'm not going to comment as to whether or not that's how you should interpret the Bible, except to say that, one, yes, the biblical authors were all geocentrists, and two, no, you should not believe in geocentrism for that reason.
Goodness gracious, I can't believe we're still having this conversation. Geocentrism.
Well, to be fair, Bodie is not actually a geocentrist. It's just that the implication of his ideas require geocentrism to actually be true in certain circumstances.
I can't believe that young Earth creationists don't think these things through. Huh.
It's like you've never met one.
Yeah, right.
Despite having been one.
Good. Well, yeah, and it's like, again, you don't think these things through because it's all ad hoc.
Mm-hmm. And then on the 16th, we are currently, it looks like we're doing a Dapper Journal Club. So, yeah, that'll be I've already read the response, the initial response, and it is overall what I would consider to be possibly one of the best young Earth creationist papers that I've read, personally. Now, I have not read even close to a representative sample of all of their papers, right? I only read the ones that touch on things that I'm particularly interested in, which is a very small subset of young Earth creationist papers. However, of the ones I have read, which is, more than just these two, this one is very impressive to me. I have very little default in it, so we're going to read through it. We're going to take a look at what criticisms I think they have of Dr. Haynes that are valid, what criticisms they have of her that are not valid, where we agree, where we disagree, where I think they may have argued their case too much or too little, things like that. So that'll be in a week. And if you are someone who has access to the Discord server, we are going to be watching episodes 8, 9, 10, and 11, I believe, of Power Rangers Time Force. So if you want to see us, or if you want to hang out with us and while we watch that, this is the season that has my favorite Pink Ranger of all seasons. So there's that. Jen Scott is
yay!
My favorite Pink Ranger. I would say she is the best Pink Ranger, but that's subjective. But she is definitely my favorite. So yeah, it's one of the reasons I really like that season, is because I think Jen is an excellent character and an excellent Pink Ranger. And also, she's basically the leader of the team, not the Red Ranger. So, I don't know, girl power, I guess.
Yay!
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Stay safe out there. If you're celebrating Hanukkah, then happy Hanukkah. If you're not, happy Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Benthoven, Philgevara, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Denny5252, Elaran Teller, Horseflesh, Ian Chan, Kelvin Brostek Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Monkey They Them, Robert Carpenter, Sphincter of Doom, Volus, Eta V, and Strawberry Vein. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.